Okay, we're going to get started, and thanks for coming to the April tea time, last tea time of the year. Today we're going to be talking about text adventures, interactive fiction, and I thought it would be kind of fun to make the talk itself interactive fiction. Okay, so this is a non-linear presentation about interactive fiction. You can read this, you can ask for help, you can tell me what to do. I'm going to type in what you want to do. That means that the order of this talk is going to depend on what you choose to do, okay? And I wrote this last night. It's about a 500-line shell script. It is not a good piece of interactive fiction. So certainly there are going to be things that come up that don't work, and we're just going to laugh about that, okay? So with that caveat, what should we do?
Closet.
I hear open closet. If you want to know what cruft is, you should look up cruft. You open the door and an avalanche of junk falls out and spreads across the floor.
Examine the junk. Roll for initiative.
Okay, so this would be an example of something that it probably should know, but that you can't do, obviously.
Read 80s.
So I decided this is basically my slides. Okay, so at this point I'm going to stop and talk a little bit. So interactive fiction was super popular in the 80s. The interactive fiction, because you chose to start with the 80s, we haven't talked about the history of it yet. But the first interactive fiction game company, Adventure International, got started in 1978, making and selling home interactive fiction for like the home PC market, right, which was just booming at the time. TRS-80s and Apple and Commodore and those types of machines, okay? There were a lot of other companies that in the 80s were selling and making interactive fiction, including Infocom, which we'll talk about. Infocom made Zork, but there was also Synapse Software, Acorn Soft, Trillium, I'm not sure about them, Magnetic Scrolls, Legend Entertainment, and Level 9 Computing, all kind of through the 80s. They had a broad appeal because anybody could play them. You didn't necessarily need twitchy reflexes. You know, you just had to like to read and imagine things. In the 80s, and I kind of grew up with this, you could also get like computer magazines that would have type-in listings. Right, so there'd be like this magazine, and there'd be like 6 pages in the back that would be basic, and you would type in all this basic, and you know, because of the way it was kind of written, you couldn't quite, you kind of knew the setting, but you didn't really know what you could do, and then you'd run the program, right, and then it would be like a little interactive fiction text adventure. So interactive fiction was really popular in the 80s. Okay, so I'll just show you. You can look again, and now it will tell us, you know, where we are. You can also help, and you can see kind of some common things that you could do. So what should we do now?
Detritus. Look inventory.
You can just do inventory.
Okay. Ooh. And Elvish. Did we have that to start with, or was it in the detritus?
Well, it was not in the detritus.
Should we drop the Elvish sword and pick up the detritus?
Okay. Oh no! Okay, so there's a bug. Because of the way this works, I did not. Okay, see, the way this works, the order of the if statements affects what you do. Okay, so let's do this. Hold on. One, two, three, four, five. Okay, so open closet. Yeah. So inventory, drop sword. Okay, there we go. You'd have to be crazy to get rid of the sword. So
We might wind up in the newsletter.
so you'd have to be crazy to get rid of the sword. So now what?
Not let you do it. Can you equip sword?
No.
So pick up junk.
It was full.
Yeah, but now that you drop the sword, is it still full?
They don't let us drop the sword. Oh,
This is my way of avoiding handling inventory.
Oh. So walk west. Or move west. So yeah, go west.
See you later. No, okay, just kidding.
Sad.
Our adventures come to an end.
Now what?
Go eat. Can we look at the our inventory or our options of things we can do again?
Examine floppy disk.
What floppy disk in the computer?
Okay, what did you want to do, Jake?
What is in the thing?
Okay.
Yeah, portable video player. What disk in?
Oh, that didn't work. Okay.
Okay, we gotta close the door.
Well, it is a floppy drive. It's a 5 1/4,
I
so.
thought we closed the door to the office because we were trying to hide.
Oh no. The floppy drive, 5 1/4-inch floppy drives had a little door. Yeah. Yeah.
Now I must close the door.
Yeah.
How do you game use the computer somehow? I have a feeling that there's
What about the computer?
well, I have a feeling that you have a Easter egg in here where you can use the computer to play Zork.
Maybe I do.
But I don't know
Maybe I don't.
how to actually use the computer.
Turn on the computer.
Oh.
Get computer.
All right.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Is it Zork? It's Zork.
So this is Zork, and now you know how to get back to Zork. Is there anything else you'd like to know about interactive fiction before we play Zork?
What is in the junk that falls out of the closet?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to know about interactive fiction? How about this? Let's look at adventure, okay? So adventure was kind of the first major piece of interactive fiction. Maybe there's others that predated it, I'm not sure. It was Colossal Cave Adventure, often called Adventure or just Advent because of shortened file names. Originally written by a man named Will Crowther. He kind of based it on his playing of D&D and actual cave systems in the Mammoth Cave area. It was expanded later in 1977 by a guy named Don Woods, who added more stuff, puzzles, items, things like that. And the kind of the value of text adventures, right, and hopefully you playing this with me is helping you to see that, is the power of text plus imagination, right? It's like why we still read books even though we could just go see movies, right? And there's a lot of classic kind of hacker tidbits or lore that comes from adventure. Get lamp or like a brass lantern. You're in a maze of twisty passages all alike, and the magic word XYZZY that took you from one place in the cave to another place in the cave has appeared in later pieces of hacker and computer games and literature and stuff. What else would you like to learn about? So Zork was directly inspired by Advent, written by MIT students around 1979. Again, you go into a cave to collect treasures and figure things out. Originally, Zork was just the name for their unfinished programs. Zork, it was like a placeholder name. They called their original program Dungeon, but it was way too big to run on home PCs. So one of the ways that they marketed it when these students became Infocom was to split the original game Dungeon into 3 chapters. And so that was Zork 1, Zork 2, and Zork 3. And things that came from Zork were Grus. Gru actually came from earlier science fiction, but it's an important part of the Zork lore. Frabasco is this kind of like, if you think of Bugs Bunny, Acme makes everything in the Bugs Bunny world, while in the Zork world, Frabasco makes everything. And Zorkmids are the unit of money in the Zork world. And so sometimes you'll see someone refer to Zorkmids as money.
So going
Chris?
back to the previous slide about adventure, was that the same adventure that was on the Atari 2600?
Was that a graphical adventure?
Yeah, was it a graphical
So
version?
the Atari adventure, it's not the same game, but it was definitely influenced by that, and also by roguelikes. So randomly generated dungeon games that are like 2D games. But yeah, these all kind of came about. So you have text adventures, which are not procedurally generated, but they're prose and they're kind of like interactive fictions. And then you had what I talked about last year, roguelikes, where it's like a top-down 2D, randomly generated maze, and it's more of like a D&D hack and slash than a puzzler per se. But they're kind of like branches of the same tree in some sense.
I wasn't sure if it was based on
Tim.
I actually played Adventure in 1979
Yeah. Yeah.
on a CGC 6500, which was the precursor to the Cray 1.
Yeah. So I had hoped when I thought about doing this that we could play Adventure on the PDP-12, but Adventure needs 32K, and the PDP-12 only has 8K. So right now that is not possible, but you can play Adventure with the PDP simulator that's online for free. So if you Google for like Play Adventure Simulator or something, you can find it all. Okay?
So you told us what Frabasco and Zorkmids are. What is a Gru actually?
Well,
Oh, you did that? Okay.
Gru is a beast in Zork that if you're in a dark area, a Gru will eat you. So you need a lamp to avoid being eaten by a Gru. It's sort of a puzzle part of the game that you encounter very early. All right, so anything else you'd like to learn about?
Let's learn about the platform.
Okay. So the platform, one of the ways that Infocom, interactive fiction worked on like all of these different home PCs at the time. They were all different, hardware, different processors in many cases. And so the way that Infocom did it is they made a virtual machine called the Z machine, and their games were run inside the Z machine. So all of their games ran inside their Z machine. To port all of their games to any new architecture, all they had to do was write a new Z machine for the new architecture. So think of it like a JVM or something like that, right? All you have to do is have that interpreter work on the thing, and then everything that was written for that interpreter works. So that's how they did it. They used a lot of text compression. And nowadays, if you want to play it, you just need an interpreter and then the game data, which you can find online. Most of them are easily available online. Kind of as abandonware. Nobody seems to mind that they're publicly available. Linux and Unix, FROTS, JZip, and XZip are interpreters. Android, there's one called Text Fiction. You can get FROTS for iOS and do that. John, we're going to miss that research meeting. And you can play on the web, too, at textadventures.co.uk. What else?
What's the readme say?
So if you want to know more about interactive fiction, there's a great documentary called Get Lamp that interviews a bunch of the people from Infocom. You can get the DVD. You can also watch it on YouTube. There's a great book that's kind of somewhere between like an academic text and just an exposition and discussion about interactive fiction as a genre called Twisty Little Passages. And you can also write your own interactive fiction. Don't write a 500-line bash script like this one. Don't be like me. There's something called Inform, which is one language for writing interactive fiction, and also TADS is a different system for doing interactive fiction. I wrote the bash script because I didn't have time to learn either of these, but I'm sure they're not hard. I just knew I could hack this out. Ryan.
So, like when you say get lamp or something in an interactive fiction, does it works with synonyms, or is it a set library of?
So that's one thing that Infocom, let's do this. One thing that Infocom did really well is they had a really good interpreter and parser. So the parser is the thing that parses the natural language that you write in and infers and figures out what you wanted. So if you said, get, take is going to be a synonym for get, and other types of words. And if it's unambiguous, it'll figure out what you mean. Or if there's two things you could mean, it will say, I don't know which rock you mean, or I don't know whatever. And so the parser, the really intelligent parser, and the implementers, that would be Infocom, them thinking about what are people going to try to do, what aren't they going to try to do, and in the constrained era, everything that you program that it could possibly do, interactions that don't really matter, just take up resources that could have been used to make the game richer. So there's like a design trade-off because it's sort of constrained. Infocom had a really awesome packaging with a lot of things they called feelies, which would be like a comic book that goes with it, or scratch and sniff stickers, or a pin, or a really a cool box. And a lot of times that served as a DRM for the game. So you needed the manual because at some point the game would say, please turn to page 5 in the manual and say what the 6th word is. Okay, so instead of having copy protection on the floppy itself, the copy protection was, do you have a copy of the manual or the scratch and sniff stickers or whatever. They were a huge company, kind of rock stars in the 80s. Infocom put out 30 or more games, but they tried to diversify, lost a bunch of money and jobs, got bought by Activision in the 80s. As graphical games and arcade games, video games, consoles kind of went up, text adventure interest went down, and so they were sort of shut down in '89. There have been a couple Zork-related titles that have come out, but these days Infocom is no more. Anything else?
Something
Chris?
that's kind of interesting. I know nowadays there are some Activision-published games that actually include Zork.
Yeah.
It's like an Easter egg.
Yeah, so Activision, I think, probably owns the copyright on Zork. Yeah, so that is not super, but that's cool.
That
Yeah,
was kind of cool and interesting, 'cause
yeah,
that's how I learned about Zork was
through an Easter egg.
an Activision-published game.
Yeah, that's very cool. Activision published game with an Easter egg for Zork. I like that. Anything else?
You had mentioned that Infocom had worked quite a bit on natural language processing for this sort of thing.
Yeah.
What sort of specific, I guess, advancements came about?
That's a great question that I am not qualified to say anything about. So yeah, that's a great question for Ted. He would be here, but he's out of town. I think probably the technology, was not revolutionary in the compared to the research, but revolutionary for home users to be able to type things in and the computer could figure out, because it's mostly, this works well enough, and it's literally just a list of about 40 regular expressions and a couple flags that I flip on and off depending on whether the floppy disk is in the computer or not, Great question. Other questions? Would you guys like to see Zork being played on an Android phone?
Sure.
So this is text fiction, and it does Zork as if it were like a messaging app. And you can see me typing, but you can also tap this to say look, or tap this to say examine mailbox, or examine leaflet is going to read the leaflet. So it's a pretty fun way to play the game. Of course, you can save your progress. I for inventory. And you're going to have a similar interface for other portable devices. Okay. So should we play Zork?
Yeah, sure.
Adventure only had 2-word commands, so it was always verb, noun, and Zork had a much more flexible parser. Okay, so what should we do?
Let's open the mailbox.
Tag leaflet.
Eat the leaflet.
And low cunning.
Low cunning meaning like not very witty. You know, they're being self-deprecating. What now?
Normal house. What?
So if I type look, it'll show us the direction. So west. Oh,
You are right.
does anybody want to draw a map? Who wants to be our mapper?
Yeah, Corey.
Yeah, my
Okay.
drawing skills are the best, right?
So here, we're going to restart. Whoops.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Your effort is ruthless. And then,
Okay, so the house, and we went west. And we're in a forest. Trees in all directions. To the east, there appears to be sunlight.
so you hear the distant chirping of songbirds.
What should we do now?
Cool.
Wait a minute. East didn't take us back to the mailbox.
This would be the final in your security class.
The final for my security class.
Listen, maybe. Can we try to determine the direction of the songbird?
Listen, bird.
Listen, bird. Oh, shit. Things go missing in this.
Oh no, my tinnitus.
What now? What now? You're about 10 feet above the ground. There's a bird's nest. There's a large egg encrusted with jewels.
Egg. Egg. Eat egg. Aw. You had to try.
Now what?
Lying down.
Look, even can you open?
Interesting back then, not in my.
Can we open the egg?
Crack egg.
I like break it.
Yeah, break egg.
That's
Smelled egg.
Do we want to break the egg
Break the egg.
or not?
Break the egg. I guess like.
All those in favor of breaking the egg, raise your hand.
Let's do it.
Those who don't want to break the egg, raise your hand. I guess the breakers.
Smash the work of art.
Fist.
Inventory.
another egg.
And.
Throw the egg.
Just drop
Rock.
egg.
Yeah, drop it. We're in a tree. Drop it. I think we should try to give it to that songbird. I like that feudal noise in it.
Feudal, yeah. All right, so I don't think they want you to break the egg.
Maybe bring it to the songbird?
Well, we don't know where the
Find a
songbird
songbird, put it in the mailbox.
I think you should try to get back to the house. I think it will be more interesting if you get back to the house. A few times.
That's cheating.
Well, you can do this on your own time, but we've got a time limit here. So, okay.
We're in a tree. I thought that we tried to go back to the house.
North-south path.
Yeah, I know, we're already lost.
Which way should we go?
North.
Jump in leaves.
What?
Jump in leaves. Yes?
What now?
Take leaves. Oh.
A grating? Lift grating. Ooh, we need to like pry it open or something.
Look grading? Look at grading. Open grading.
We can't follow. Oh,
So one thing that
Grating with the egg.
no. So what now? The grating is locked.
Use your level 100 lockpicking to pick the lock.
Okay, we're north of the house.
Heading south?
Here, I've helped you out a little bit.
Oh, go in window. Wait, that's slightly ajar. Open window.
Break window.
Break window with that.
Break
Go
open.
in
Alright, well, I guess
Really?
What?
It's just a way to get
Now?
Enter window.
Go through window. There we go.
All right. Now things are happening.
Cook the egg.
Eat hot peppers. I thought it said there was hot peppers.
Take
Oh,
bottle.
it's smelling of hot peppers.
Take bottle.
Open the sack.
Yeah, open the sack.
Open sack, lunch, and a clove of garlic.
No, save it for
Take garlic with the defending vampires. Eat lunch.
Go upstairs.
Okay, upstairs. You've moved into a dark place. You are likely to be eaten by a grue.
What is a group?
A grue is a beast that lives in dark places and is afraid of light. If you move around in dark places in the Zork world, you will be eaten by a grue and killed. So we'll go down. Okay, so go west. Aha.
A battery-powered lantern. Let's take lantern.
Okay.
Also sword. That seems nice.
Okay. Now,
Just out of curiosity, move rug.
yes, you are so good.
I mean, they wouldn't say it was there.
That's exactly right.
Or can we open trap door? We probably want to take the sword.
We did. So there's our inventory.
Hang in there. Does it have batteries?
Now, I'm giving you maybe a little bit of spoiler alert here. If you've just arrived, by the way, come on in. We're going to play Zork, and then I'll quit maybe in like 20 minutes and go back to more of the lecture type thing. We'll kind of go into Zork, and then we'll go back out. That way people who are playing can play longer. Now, I'm a little bit of helping you along. There was an area we couldn't explore because it was dark. We now have a lamp.
But there's another area we could explore because it's dark. Well, does the lamp
And
have
we're right
batteries?
next to that area.
Well, how could I find that? How could I find out if the lamp has batteries?
Light lantern. Check lantern. Okay, well, there we go.
How do I go upstairs?
So easy
we go
then, huh?
East, up.
Turn on lantern.
Lantern's already on.
Take knife.
We were in the sword.
Eat the knife.
Take. Uh-oh.
We're over encumbered.
Drop
No.
leaves. Eat garlic.
Drop leaves.
Not eat the garlic.
Take knife. Okay. Take rope.
We're gonna be over encumbered. Oh, maybe not.
I've got a lot of
It was a big pile of leaves, I guess. All right. Now what?
I kind of want to know where the stars are. Where's next Fortnite right now? Down?
Down.
Go the other direction that got us towards darkness?
West.
Go into darkness.
Descend into darkness. Great.
Down.
Yep.
You're in the cellar. Narrow passageway to the north, crawlway to the south. The west is a steep metal ramp which is unclimbable, and your sword is glowing with a faint blue glow.
Are Drew's orcs?
I don't believe they are
Lord of the
orcs.
Ringsing right now.
Well,
Are we frozen?
we've all been borrowing liberally from Tolkien for many years, so I don't think it's a good thing that the sword is glowing blue, right? I mean,
Definitely means there's screws. Full sword.
Let's go north.
Can we carry a sword and a lantern
North.
at the same time?
Ooh.
troll room.
Can we equip swords?
You don't need to equip things in Zork,
Okay.
unlike RPGs.
Attack roll.
Attack
Attack
roll with
roll
sword.
with sword. Or lantern.
Or
egg.
Burn troll. Dreamland thing.
Dreamland. Oh. Interesting. The troll is unconscious.
Burn troll.
What now?
Battle.
Attack for life.
Oh. That's cool. Oh. Burn troll. Oh, he's gone. Trolls regenerate if you don't burn them sometimes.
Well, the fog lifts and the carcass has disappeared. Take axe. Your load is too heavy.
I mean, but that's nice.
So
Can we get rid of the nasty knife?
we can get rid of anything you want to.
Oh, I mean, like, we need a knife.
Do we need an axe?
Tell me what to do. Drop garlic, eat garlic. We're having a philosophical discussion here. Some people want to eat the garlic or drop the garlic. Zach is saying, don't eat the garlic. Why, Zach?
Vampires, dude.
Yeah, vampires, right? Because right, people realize that if there's garlic, it's like do people know what Chekhov's gun is? I talk about this sometimes in class, right? Chekhov's gun, Anton Chekhov, famous playwright. If there's a gun on the wall in the first act of a play, it has to go off by the third. Okay, that's like his rule, right? Like if you're like in a movie and there's like a scene where like it lingers on a gun on the wall, like they didn't do that just for fun, right? So now they might just be trolling you, okay? Or the garlic might be important.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, well, by that logic, then the nasty knife will also be, they'll be Chekhov's nasty knife.
The thing is, there's got to be red herring items because they're making us drop shit.
Or it's just about resource management and backtracking. But yeah,
We legitimately need the water.
Well,
I don't know.
we could drink the water. We need the
We're thirsty.
Maybe we should just explore more of the basement. Wait, why? Okay.
Zach says let's explore more. I think exploring more is a good idea because the axe isn't going anywhere right now. So what should we do?
Examine.
So we came from the south, right?
We came from the south. There's a hole to the west and east. West to the hole?
Forbidden.
Oh.
Let's just always go right on the right wall. That's a smart idea.
So, okay, this is where you come in,
Yeah, this is where I come in.
okay?
I'll destroy it.
Corey is mapping on our board here. So what should we do?
Go right.
Go right?
Can we see like what places can we go?
No. You could say examine here. There's nothing.
Like we can't see what directions have walls.
It's part of the puzzle. So what direction? Right is meaningless.
Keep going west.
East?
East is where we came from.
Okay, so east leads back to the troll room.
So then it'd be south, would be right?
So, do you want to go back into the maze?
I feel like that's a good way to get lost, and we could go west where we know where we're
We're
going.
good on that.
But that's true.
Why?
So, all right, we've got somebody who's clearly played the game, wants to drop the egg in the cellar so the thief can get it. Sounds mysterious. We could also go back into the twisty passages. What should we do?
Back in the twisty passages we go. I'm kind of anti-cheating, so
All those who want to go into the passages, raise your hand.
I would have went back in the past.
Okay. All right, so we're back in the passages. What now?
Go west again. Yeah.
West again leaves us in another
Yeah.
room.
We should
West until we can't go west.
Now what?
just go. Let's go west until we hit a wall.
Five,
Oh. All right.
4
How many wests? No, let's just keep going north until we can't go north, and just keep following the right wall, right?
I think that's left wall, but yeah.
Like null terminate.
No, north would be the right.
Try north.
Yeah, you're
North? We can't go north from that area.
What you could do is put a little box on
South?
the top and bottom and put an X there, or like on the left.
Okay, so we went south from the last, and that worked. Corey?
Yep. South.
Yep. So now what?
So go left.
West or east?
West.
We were able to go west.
Keep going
West again.
to west. We still have the lantern lit.
Yep.
Yeah.
West again.
Would it be dark
That
here
worked.
otherwise?
We don't know. But how could we discover that?
Turn the lantern off, but then we might die. Turn the lantern on.
Okay.
I'm just worried the batteries are gonna run out.
That's a fair worry. Should we keep going west?
Keep going. What's the gun? Can't go that way.
Okay.
Go north.
Go north. Can't go that way.
How about south?
Yep.
South.
Oh, hey. West again.
West.
West.
Okay.
On west.
Better not be like some lost woods. It's like
Now what?
West.
Provided.
I see a path.
Yeah, there is
This
a
is what I'm
pattern.
saying. Is this like some lost woods stuff?
Yeah, I feel like this is Lost Woods Zelda.
It is. Yeah, it is not a linear maze.
What was the Lost Woods pattern?
It's like, oh, this was before that.
I know, but I'm saying, does it,
I don't remember.
Does it take from
So I went east. I went back east,
that? No, does Ogre and
east, and now I can't go that way. So I went east twice,
Or it's like,
What?
but I can't
actually,
keep
do you
going
wanna go
east.
graveyard in the original thing?
How about north?
That's
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
Alright, well,
Now what?
this is really bad for us.
Yep. Yeah, it's bad. Now what?
North?
North?
Wait, are we trying to go back?
Yeah, we can't though, because like if you go back east twice, so we were on the very edge of that thing, and we went back east. It's the lost woods.
Yeah.
We have to know the pattern because all.
Or rather, the Lost Woods is this.
Yes.
If we're gonna
Yeah.
be, yeah,
Uh,
totally
so-
fair.
Yeah. Can we go east again? When you're in Zelda, you get into the woods, and then you can go
hey.
like.
That's interesting.
Direction, like
Oh,
there's 4
examine.
directions.
Dead end.
Dead end.
Actually, you go, but you never get back. Like it's only one square on the thing. You want to have to move to get out.
Oh, okay.
Granite wall. Odd.
Yes.
Examine surroundings.
Thanks a lot. That was very weird.
Other than the first bit of granite.
So now what?
Look up. Examine floor.
Go west. Yeah.
Wait,
Oh.
you can't because it's a dead end.
Wait.
Where did we come from? Yeah.
We came from the east.
East.
Oh, that was
How about north?
literally can't go anywhere.
We are
South?
What's in our inventory?
Hey.
What? Alright.
We should use the rope.
Do we have some breadcrumbs?
Yeah.
On the wall?
Do we have some breadcrumbs?
We have a jewel encrusted egg that we can use as breadcrumbs. Yeah. Just have to break it first.
We'll just break the jewels off and leave them as we go.
I don't think you can. So what now?
Use rope. We had a pile, I believe. So we could-
Oh, that's pretty easily. It's a rough day.
I knew I picked it
Yeah.
up or something.
Oh,
What-
that would have been smart.
What should we do? I don't think you can split the leaves up into individual leaves. That would be a good idea.
Tied the rope at the beginning of the maze.
Oh.
I don't think that's a great idea too. That I don't think the system is advanced enough to let you tie the rope and then walk into the maze.
Like,
Yeah. So what now?
why did they give it to us?
Probably for something else.
Wait, look up.
Can we?
Wait.
I don't think so.
Great egg.
We can't break the egg.
Are we like rotating or?
Yeah, I'm super confused.
Yes, welcome to the twisty passages. So, do you want a hint?
Sure. Yeah.
You can use your inventory as breadcrumbs.
Oh.
Okay.
The entire inventory, just leave one as.
We just
Right.
drop everything?
Drop one item in each room.
Really,
That
we
sounds
should
like
drop the lantern first.
We should drop the knife.
Okay.
You're gonna come back next to me missing.
So now Corey. Oh.
Ooh. Stab him. Stab him with sword.
Maybe we should follow
Stab
that
CD.
individual with sword.
Someone just randomly walks into you in a dark place. You're gonna stab him.
CD looking individual?
Stab.
Drop egg.
Stab thief. Examine.
The hag man.
He's gone.
Oh.
But now, Corey, I suggest that you make a state called knife, and
Yeah.
Let's check our reaction.
Where are we at with this? It doesn't matter.
ooh,
Have an egg.
we lost the egg,
Uh-oh.
and we do have our sword, but it looks like he stole our egg.
Shit.
I think you called it. Yeah, yeah. So we're in the knife room.
Okay, for knife.
Now what?
Move west or east or any direction. Always
West. Okay, so now there's nothing here, obviously.
Drop garlic.
Well, first go back east and check if that knife is still there.
Oh. So we just lose shit.
You just lost the knife. So keep
Okay, so you can go west from the knife room, but you can't go east back from there. Okay? Yeah, Christiana. The maze rooms don't move, but obviously the connections are not,
maybe they're one direction.
they're not bidirectional, and they don't necessarily fit on a 2D grid.
Oh god.
Know what I'm
it's
saying?
not overcube.
Well, it's just not
I
a
suggest
straightforward
we
maze.
use a 2D map for our mapper out there.
We
should
should
do a state diagram.
Yeah, I would do a state diagram.
Yeah, let's do state diagram.
Okay, so we went west from the knife room, okay, into a new room that we're in now, but we can't go back east from that room. To be fair, we don't actually know how we got to the knife room, okay?
No way.
No, yeah, you got it. So knife, okay, and then we've got west
Yeah.
to here, okay? But there's no east that goes back
Yeah.
from this state. So what should we do?
Drop something first. Make it like
What should we drop?
Rope.
so that's the rope state now.
Yep,
Now go
Pick any direction.
pick a direction. Go south.
south. Can't go that way. North.
Oh.
So north took us back from the rope to the knife.
To the knife.
North brought you
So drop, yeah.
Kind of works.
Okay.
So then go.
And
Label it. We should put an end by the.
So now what?
Well, last time we went west, so
Let's try and go south.
Actually, go west and check that it actually is.
So we went, okay. So the rope is here. We tried to go south and we couldn't. We tried to go east and we couldn't. So do you want to try west? So you can go west from the rope state. You don't need to mark any transitions that don't exist. So, but west out of the rope state does exist.
Well, why don't we mark like south as non-existent?
Well,
Because if, well, I see what you're saying.
Like,
Yeah,
right
yeah.
south back to rope state.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So.
Sure. Yeah. So south didn't work, and east didn't work. Okay. Yeah. So now we're in this new state. What would you like to do?
Underrated tights.
Drop garlic. Okay.
Can we check if this is the whole bidirectional state?
What do you mean?
Go.
What got us to the garlic room?
Go east. So east took us back to the rope
okay, so
room.
it's bidirectional.
So it's bi-directional, just draw 2 arrows on it. Yeah,
Yep. So east, mark
And
that.
label it
Yeah.
east.
that's how
Yep.
it is, it's gonna look at.
So now we're back in our garlic room.
Alright, try going south.
South,
Okay.
new room.
State.
What would you like to drop?
Glass bottle.
Anything but the sword and thunder.
Okay. So now what?
Can we go back?
North. Whoops.
No, that's the same.
Oh, that's the same room. Okay.
Ooh.
Literally
North
going back to
goes
the south.
back
So
to-
north really does go back to itself. All right. So now what?
How about south again? Oh, we're
South goes to the garlic room.
Okay.
So south is bidirectional.
No,
Completely.
no, it's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, it is. 'Cause
Well,
It is
yeah.
literally bidirectional.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, like,
It's a circle. It's a south.
Yep. You could. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So we're back to the garlic room. So now what?
not in the 2.
How about north? We haven't tried that, I don't think, for this one. Like,
North from the garlic room.
Yeah.
We can't go that way.
okay, so we know that.
Can we go west?
Yeah, we can go
West from the garlic room. We can't
No,
go.
we're not.
Oh, wait, we can't go west, okay.
So now what?
Well, let's go back down to the bottle room, and we'll see if we can go any other way. And if we
South
can't, we
to the
can-
bottle room.
So try going east.
East to the troll room.
We're back to the beginning.
So now that we have the map, should we try and go back and collect our stuff?
Should we go collect our stuff?
There's so much in there.
We don't know how we got to the knife room, though.
Well, but all we need to do is get to the knife room.
Yeah, but we don't know how we got
We can get back to the knife room.
Actually, yeah, we can. We enter in west, we go south.
Actually, we
or
have no
go
idea how
east,
we
or go
got
north.
to
Yeah,
the.
that's what I just said.
Well,
Well,
we can just try the
we've got a
troll room
state
and see
map.
where it puts us and
Well,
make a new state.
Zach's right. We can get us back to the
We've got a
knife.
state map that
If
gets
the-
us to the knife.
We don't, because
So-
the troll room doesn't go to anything yet.
No, we need to.
We got to the troll room from the
That's what
cellar.
I'm saying. We'd have to start
I
the
mean,
climb.
just, I guess, go back west then.
Yeah,
Just
go
the
west.
bottle room.
But it
All right.
might not lead to the bottle room.
But check.
Well, but like, we'll see immediately.
Yeah, I know.
Go in and you could try to come out, and you might not be able to come out.
That's not
No,
true.
but we'll
Not
find
before.
new, the states are gonna exist no matter what.
Sometimes it happens.
We first went west, then back east. and
Is
we
there a way to
exited
display
the-
all options, like openings in the room, like north?
Not that I know of. I don't think there's a way to.
Because then once you go a direction.
Well, either way, we gotta go back
Well, when you're
in.
in a room, you can't see.
We're not leaving our shit
it's
back
like,
there.
I see there's an opening north or just northwest, you know.
Yeah, I don't think there's a way to say what the openings are.
Garlic list.
Well, there's no reason to argue, we could just go back in,
All right.
because we can get out, right?
Yep.
Eventually, probably.
Well, no, because it was,
Like,
the first time we entered, we did like the reverse direction east, and we got back to the troll.
see, I wasn't sure about that.
East,
Yeah.
That's what I was
We
saying.
did, we tried that first.
Hey, that's cool.
We
We can take the axe.
We got our axe stolen.
So, do we want to go back into the maze
Yes.
Yeah.
or not? Okay, into the maze.
Okay,
Well,
we're back in the
water.
bottle room.
Okay, so then south.
Okay, yeah, well, we already know what south does.
South.
Yeah, we're going to go back to the knife.
We might wanna collect our bottle.
Well, but.
We're gonna backtrack.
I feel like we haven't actually accomplished what we went into this room for. We
Like,
need to find the state. Here, go south again, and then we have. well,
South
we-
from the
oh,
garlic room?
Never mind.
Oh,
we're already- yeah, we haven't
I
gone
guess
west in the
east.
bottle room.
East.
we have gone, oh, yeah.
We're in the rope room.
Is there anywhere else we can try in the rope room?
What?
We've tried all the directions.
Okay, well then I guess we gotta go
Yeah, I gotta go
north,
west. Means we have to go back to the bottle room, because.
the knife room.
Do you want? So north back to the knife
Can
room.
we go any other, this is a dead end. Oh, no, it's not.
We should like label them with numbers and then collect our stuff.
Where does-
Reuse it or
Where does south go? Yeah, but.
South from the knife room.
Yep.
That goes.
So collect it and then we know.
So we
We
know
could,
that.
we could just map the whole maze, and then just take our shit and leave.
Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
but yeah, but why are we leaving? What's the point?
Do people want to leave the maze?
No, we need to find
Or are we? Do you want to go south? Do you want to collect our stuff? What should we
Let's
do?
go for south. We got-
South. Can't go that way.
Okay, what about
East.
east?
Dead end. So east from the knife room is the dead end.
So we've seen basically the whole thing.
Probably.
Well, except for the bottle room, we haven't gone, we haven't gone west in the bottle.
Also, we don't, so we go west from the dead end to get back, right?
That's true.
Nope.
North.
You can't go west out of the dead end.
We can only go south, I thought.
Can't go north out of the dead end. Can't go east. South out of the dead end leads back to the knife room.
So south brings us to the knife room for you.
South, bring us back to the knife room?
Yeah.
And then I guess let's try north in the knife room, because it's the only direction I'm going.
So what are we doing?
North in the knife room?
North from the knife room leads to the bottle room.
Okay, what about,
That's
west?
your shit.
What about west in the bottle room?
This is trippy.
I'm loving this state machine.
Yeah.
What about west in the,
I love it.
what does west do?
Yeah.
West from the bottle room?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we did go west originally.
Okay, that brings you back to the.
West from the bottle room takes us back to the knife.
Okay.
So,
West.
I think we've got a full map now.
I think so, yeah.
And there's nothing in here.
Yep.
Can you go up?
What do you mean up north?
No.
West.
He's looking at a state machine on his computer.
Up.
Oh.
They don't have time for this, guys.
Yeah.
Southwest.
I mean, this is kind of like cheating, though.
So-
I'm trying to get to the treasure so we can.
No, we want this guy.
Yeah, but I feel like
South-
there's a lot of cheating going on.
That's not fun, though.
Yeah. The point of the game isn't to just beat it, because if you just read the fucking commands, you can run a script to beat this game. Yeah.
So we've now encountered another important aspect of playing adventure games. Do you play with spoilers or do you not play with spoilers?
Well,
Okay.
it depends on how long you sit there and grind
Yeah,
for.
if you're not in the lecture, then.
It is more
Yeah.
Come on.
Okay, so what do we want to do? What's your name? Brandon. So Brandon knows that we could go southwest. What do people want to do?
Take the skeleton key. That'll probably open that one grade.
Oh, yeah, we all,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Look in the bag. Kinda has to. Ooh.
Okay.
Oh, balls are good points. So. Fucking, yeah, right. Okay, whatever.
What else would you like?
I think we examine dead guy.
Examine adventurer.
Wait, what?
I'm a lost.
Examine
I'm all about my loss.
skeleton.
I want to read, but only half.
Wait a minute, aren't there a lot of people who just like.
Take the knife.
Like you look for them?
What'd you say? Alright, now you can go wherever you go.
Whoa,
What'd you say?
interesting.
Single pulse of lightning light.
Stab the knife with the sword.
Okay.
Maybe it has a demon in it.
Well, who knows?
It's got a tracker, and that's how the thief keeps lining up.
Let's backtrack to that grade.
Yeah, that's what would be great.
The grade sounds fun. The grade sounds great.
Okay,
And also, we have
so
a skeleton key.
should we? I think down from here.
Yeah. So is this
Okay.
the origin of a skeleton key, or is
We can't go down.
Oh, we can't go down.
You gotta assume
So southwest.
What?
We can't go back down. So southwest. Oh, we're back in a maze.
Where at? Yeah, let me know. I would do that if I had my computer.
He says east.
Like, it's in a bunch of shit.
Now what?
But, like, it's gotta start somewhere. I would so like this.
Fine, Mr.
Oh, I'm assuming.
Up.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's like Norse or Greek or something. like that.
Now we're totally lost.
I think this going southwest was a bad idea. It was. We had a fully mapped thing in 4 directions. Now we need to do 8 directions.
No, not.
We're playing 4D chess, 4D chess here, guys.
We could drop
I think we went down a dirty path.
Wait, can we drop one coin at a time?
Now what?
Wait for Heath. He'll find us. Fake batteries on the pointer.
Wait for the grooves. Oh. Faint blue below. So now, wait, we could drop.
But we
our-
killed the troll.
We could drop our. Did it regenerate? Drop axe.
Now what?
Yeah, I don't like the fact that we went southwest.
No one likes the Southwest. It's like a skeleton key. It's like a hacked up master key kind of thing.
That's standard. They usually unlock everything.
Okay.
Well, but I mean like
But the word doesn't, or like the phrase doesn't have an origin?
No, it's apparently just like a word.
That's a weird thing to call a
Okay, we're back to the dead end.
'Cause it's supposed to be
So we
like
can
a-
get out and go back to the grate. So from the dead end, south.
Like open doors at press.
Oh, is there another dead end?
It's like a modded key.
You gotta go north.
Yeah.
North.
Well, that's a weird name to pick.
Northeast.
Right.
And then.
That's a weird name to pick for like
Up.
a modification, like a modified key.
Then west. And southeast. There we go.
Whoa, Cyclops.
Hug Cyclops.
Hug Cyclops? That seems like a bad idea. What should we do?
We went southwest without voting, so I think.
So why can't we hug the Cyclops?
Hug Cyclops, unilateral. Okay, what would you like to do?
Stab it.
Stab Cyclops with Cyclops ignores your pitiful attempt.
Oh,
Stab him in the eye.
Offer garlic.
What? Stab Cyclops in eye.
Can we reach that?
Hmm.
Hug Cyclops.
We want to apologize.
There's no love in the Zork.
Single tear, yeah.
What's the point of it all if there's no love, am I right?
What is our current inventory?
It said he's not very friendly and he likes people, that's what I thought he
Is our lantern still on?
Yep.
Turn off the lantern.
For the moment.
Oh no.
Bad idea. Oh no.
Oh, Grim.
Now we
Rapidly exit.
Now we hug the Cyclops.
Can we hide?
Let's turn back on the lamp.
Wait, yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I thought we were outside now. My bad.
Oh, he's looking for salt and pepper. Oh. No worries.
Oh, there's the pepper.
Are you his
Oh,
upcoming snack?
we don't have any. Oh, we ate
I don't
lunch
know.
already.
Give him the garlic.
Oh,
I
crap.
feel like we're probably the thing he wants to eat.
We ate for lunch. I think if you him the link, we should hide underneath one of his lamps.
Too bad, yeah, too bad we don't have a sandwich we could give him.
Yeah, too bad we already ate the lunch. So
Do we have a piece of garlic?
No, we
No.
don't.
Oh no.
No.
Feed him the key.
The Cyclops is moving towards you in an unfriendly manner.
Stab Cyclops.
How do we get in here?
That didn't really work very well last time.
We rolled poorly.
Try again.
I don't know. Do we know what the way out of the room is? Exit on the northwest and a staircase leading up.
Yeah, go up.
Up. The Cyclops doesn't look like he'll let you pass. Leave or become dinner.
Okay, become dinner.
What happens if we become this?
I guess it is almost time to
We'll
quit.
have warmth in his stomach for a while.
Become dinner?
Yes.
Oh.
Two.
All right. So we need to leave. Northwest?
I'm wearing bloody axe.
Okay, I don't really know if this will work.
Oh.
Oh. We died.
Just like mom used to make them. It's nice to be appreciated.
Oh, so they gave us another chance.
Wait, do we have our inventory still?
We're back alive in the forest, but we're empty-handed. So we can quit. You can also save and restore your progress in Zork, because obviously this takes some time.
How is Zork computed?
The goal of Zork is part of the puzzle. So figuring out how score is computed in Zork is a part of learning to play the game.
Not something simple like how many rooms you've been in or something.
It's something simple, but it's not like how many rooms you've been in.
Okay.
Is it like number of correct decisions or something like that?
No. No.
Otherwise, there's only a total of 350 points. And it says in so many moves, so I'm assuming if you get all the points,
It should take 350 moves, one would expect, right?
not necessarily.
I don't think you get 1 point per move.
So was there anything else you wanted to learn about or try?
Later.
So popularity of interactive fiction kind of declined in the era, the late 80s with the increase in gaming. Commercial interactive fiction basically ended by the 90s. There was some experimentation with text adventures that added graphics to make it more kind of multimedia. In the 90s, however, and I don't actually know when the first MUD was released, so that would be something you can look up. But MUDs, moos, mushes, and mucks are all multi-user. MUD is a multi-user dungeon. It was basically the precursor to the massively multiplayer online game. So it was a text adventure where you telnetted into a server and all the players were in the game together. So you could acquire things and kill. It had a much more of a D&D style. Like Zork has a kind of a D&D style theme, but you're not actually like stats don't matter, But in MUDs, they do. You level up, you go to areas that are appropriate to your level, and do feats and stuff like that. There's a lot of activity in the hobbyist open source interactive fiction world. I mentioned Inform and TADS, systems you can use to write your own interactive fiction. There's interactive fiction competition every year. A lot of times people, still write classic adventures, but a lot of times they're like trying to do something as a twist on the genre, maybe subvert expectations, or maybe more creative works, more literary type works. Sometimes it'd be easier to make like a one-room adventure, kind of similar to this one that we're playing right now. And so, even though kind of the commercial era is over, people are still making new games and playing IF and talking about it. I mean, obviously, we had fun doing this. So, anything else?
Would MUDs be kind of considered like similar to modern day MMORPGs in a way?
Yeah, it's very similar to MMORPGs, MUDs. And there are still some MUDs around. Moos, mushes, and mucks were more like interactivity focused than role-playing focused. And in particular, in moos, mushes, and mucks, you, the player, can create your own areas and create, in many cases, write programs to make objects do things. It's like you're inside an object-oriented environment that you can describe and expand and make new areas and puzzles and things like that. MUDs, you mostly had to like hard code, the extensions to the game and stuff like that. Players didn't normally edit the MUDs. Anything else?
I feel like there's an Easter egg that we're missing.
I don't think we looked at playing, but since we have been playing, it's probably not necessary, but compass directions, mapping, as we were doing, inventory, having an NLP style interface. A lot of times there's constraints, so food, batteries, time, amount of inventory you can carry. Actions obviously change the game world, which we saw in the twisty little passages. You kind of identify the keywords from the text. What are the things that I think I can interact with? Find clever solutions to the puzzle. So that maze was a great example of something that was, you think it's going to be a maze, it's not quite a normal maze, and then once you start dropping items, you can build a state machine pretty quickly. Other things that we haven't looked at? I think we've seen it all. So, nothing left to do but leave. All right. Thank you very much. If you have any other questions about this, let me know. Otherwise, you can find more information than you could probably read in many, many years online. So thanks very much. If you didn't sign in, please sign in so they know how many people came.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.